to HCNME Talks by Hotel and Catering News Middle East. This webinar is presented by DO in association with Nestlé Professional MENA. And we're very happy to have you here with us. I'm the editor of the publication and the online platform. I'm very happy today to be joined by these fabulous celebrity chefs who are joining us. Two of them are joining from Dubai, and one is joining from Cairo. And we're very happy to have them all with us today. I am joined today by Chef Bobby Chin, top chef judge, Chef Mansour Marian, Director of Culinary and F&B at Palazzo Versace, Dubai, and Chef Mohammed Al-Ghazawi, Senior Advisory Chef at Nestlé Professional MENA. Thank you for joining us today, chefs. We're very happy to have you here with us. Before we start off, I'd like to ask the participants to submit any questions they have to the chefs in the Q&A section of the webinar, and we will be asking them these questions after a couple that I have for them. Also, at the end of the webinar, we should be picking one winner for our grand prize, which will be actually a meal at Enigma restaurant at Palazzo Versace, which is really fabulous.
Nice.
By Chef Marian, of course. Okay, chefs. So the first question I have for you, obviously COVID-19 has brought on so many changes for this industry. I want to know, as a chef, how has it affected your role so far? We know you cannot go out to interact with people like you used to. We know the tables are far apart. We know people are scared. We know everybody's wearing masks. Can you tell us a bit about how it has affected you as chefs?
Good. So if I may start, so first of all, thank you very much for having us, on this beautiful forum. So, generally, the chefs, it's not only about the pandemic. Of course, the pandemic has brought it, a little bit stronger in, but as a chef, I think in these days, you really need to look out of, the box. What's the box? I mean, your kitchen. So what the trends, of being a chef is now like being in a fashion world. Every year, the trends, the hospitality trend, food trend, beverage trend changes. So you have to be really on top of that. And it doesn't mean you have to jump on every possible trend, but you have to see your direction. You have to create your style. And what the pandemic, of course, had forced us to do more. So it's, I have, for example, personally diverted a little bit the operation into more, being more flexible with marketing, working more close as a hotel chef, close with the rooms to develop new marketing ideas. Not only me, I even forced my chef de cuisines, to look at their costing, to not go down with the quality, but we have brought even the prices down to attract more guests. After the lockdown, we did not sleep also during the lockdown. We continued working. We continued to do our marketing. We continued to have an awareness in the market. Yeah. So, and one of the very good things we have done, we were very, so present in the social media. So social media and home cooking. Myself, during that time, I have developed my cooking academy, Mansour Marian Cooking Academy, and had last week my first online session with the hotel together, which was very successful. So it has opened a lot of different doors. The pandemic, of course, it's still, we have suffered. We all have suffered, and we are still suffering. But it has opened a lot of different doors, to look for directions. But it is also not to be positive, but it has changed our mindset, and it has, opened our creativity as well.
Fantastic. Any of the other chefs would like to say something?
Sure. As I said in the beginning, I was talking with Chef. I had a chat with him. We are chef. We are working in different operation, different type of operation. So from my point of view as an advisory chef, where I work closely with professional chef, uh, I used to go to the hotels or restaurant and meet the chef in their operation. Or at the same time, I can invite them to my kitchen where we can engage and do ideation and work together. So through this time, the pandemic actually prevented us to meet each other. And this is where creativity and adapting the new way comes. And we started doing this virtually. So I had a demonstration online. I do demonstration online with chef. We do meeting with chef online. We talk about new trend. We do ideation and trainings, all of them online. So yes, I agree with the chef. We all adopt the new trends and we go online virtually. I think it is a new experience, and I believe that by the time we will leverage more on it, we will have a lot of new ideas coming out of it.
I think this is what chefs usually do. They're very good
Yeah,
at adapting, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think a lot of chefs in Dubai have done so very seamlessly. Like we haven't even felt it. Chef Bobby, how are things in Cairo? How are things with you now?
That's Sahel. This is the North Coast. So the restaurants have been closed. I don't have a restaurant to manage anymore. But what I was doing is I've had a lot of these chats on other platforms. And I was asking people in the industry because, as our two notable guests have stated, there are many different types of chef. We have ourselves a very high-end hotel chef and a chef working for a major corporation like Nestle. There are development chefs. There are line order type of cook chefs. So depending on the cuisine, depending on the market, depending on the style and price points, we're all facing different. They're all facing different. I'm not facing anything, quite frankly, except I'm unemployed. But they're all facing these issues. So in certain countries, like say the United States and metropolitan areas, I don't think chefs will be coming back. The margins are very slim, anywhere between 4 to 6%. In London, it's 6 to 8% of gross profit. To be closed for 3 months, I don't know how you adapt. So I'm seeing the trends of restaurants that have adapted to this change, of ghost kitchens, of doing catering, looking for new revenue sources, because social distancing, even with the rent reduction, is going to hurt the industry tremendously. So I think Dubai hasn't really been affected. I don't think Asia's been really as badly affected, but a lot of the Western countries have been hit tremendously, and to get them back is going to need government interventions. So creativity of maybe using lesser cuts of meat from filet mignon to what the butcher would have taken, going more local to keep the costs lower. I mean, those are all ways in which we can adjust the pricing, but it's going to be a really tough return for restaurants globally.
So for the next question, we have something very interesting, which is something that I've heard from many people, and I don't really know how to answer that or whether it's true. There are lots of chefs opening up restaurants now where it's basically sometimes under the chef's name. So do you think that some people say that the chef is best off leading the kitchen and that the restaurant needs to be led by somebody else from the industry? Do you think that this is true, or do you think that the chef is really the best person to have a restaurant?
So I think we will continue with me the same way. So first of all, I want to really the way Bobby has described the situation, the first question was amazing. So, and I 100% agree with him. So we have, that's what I also meant to look out of the box. So we have to look at different ingredients, different ways of cooking. So that's also one of the key points to adapt to the pandemic time. So it's really a point to bring up. And secondly, coming back to your question, yeah, it always depends on the person, the chef, whether he wants to be a host at the end, opening up a restaurant. You're also the host. It's not only being in the back and cooking a beautiful dish. The hospitality has changed. It's not only, the food is one part of the entire experience you have. So if as a person you can deliver that, why not? So, and it would be an amazing, person to start a business as a chef. And really, ideally, the entire cooking industry has changed. We have to be more frontliners. We have to be more the host. We have to be beside the maitre or restaurant manager. We have to, to be the face of the restaurant, which we are slowly getting. And it always depends, for me, in my case, it always depends on the person. I would, I had my restaurant in Austria. So I was with my companion. So, and it was a very successful, really successful business model. He was more the person behind the scenes, marketing, looking for different options. And I was the one responsible for the operation. And this restaurant was restaurant of the year 2009 in Austria, and I could cook even my Michelin star there. So it was a fantastic module. It depends always on the person. Yes.
Depends on the chef. Chef Bobby, you want to say something as you're walking around?
I was getting away from the noise.
Okay.
The dog has arrived, the children have arrived, and I'm doing the best I can to noise reduction.
That's amazing. We can hear you though. We can hear you very well, thankfully.
Okay.
So, what do you think? Do you think a chef having a restaurant is a good idea, or do you think let's leave it to the operators?
Well, I think, as I say, there's many different types of restaurants. If you took like Thomas Keller's just stuck in his kitchen. He didn't really bother to come out. The food was everything that he was doing. He didn't need to say anything. The waiters were so well trained. That was the dining experience that you go to. In my restaurant, I was a little temperamental. Okay, so I was a bit of a perfectionist. So it would be better that I was not in the kitchen during service time, because I'd be pushing people in a different language and a standard that would just drive me nuts. So I felt that I was value added on the floor to entertain guests, to meet them, to chat with them, talk about the food, to help the wait staff, to be part of the entire operation. I counted the money at the end of the night. I wanted to do everything, but then again, I've got ADD, so it worked well for me. Chefs will always make that decision sooner or later, but every chef will tell you their success is based on the people around them. You don't get into this industry thinking that you're going to basically be superstar without a really great sous chef, without a good line cook, you're only as strong as the weakest link. So when you go into this business, most of restaurants fail. 4 out of 5 fail within the first year, and 4 out of 5 fail within the 5th year. It's the highest failing business in the world because anyone gets to do it. You don't need a degree. You don't have to go to college. You don't have to get a law degree. You don't want to be a lawyer, study law, right? You want to be a chef, you can learn through osmosis and you can learn through training. But you're going to need to surround yourself with really good people. You need a finance manager, accountant. You need PR. I mean, what Chef Mansour was saying is that, now you got to do like social media. I mean, we are now need to have more skills than 20 years ago in this industry. So it's really your choice of what you feel you can do that you can achieve to do well. I would never leave my kitchen if I felt that the staff couldn't do it without me. So it's really a balancing act, and and that choice will come to you. Do you chain yourself to the oven, to the expediting line, and impart your standard to every single plate, or is your standard good enough where you feel comfortable that everyone can do their job because you've invested the time and training into the team that you've built. And you can do the same in the front of the house, and you can do the same across, but you need to surround yourself with a lot of great people.
Fantastic. I love this. And I think this is the case in any job, really, surrounding yourself with the right people. This is the true success there. Chef Mohammed, do you have anything to say?
Definitely, there is not too much to add on what chefs has said, but I would just like to add one thing, that whenever a chef have his own restaurant, I believe that the recipes will be always genuine. So the quality of food in the restaurant running by a chef, or the chef, he is the investor, the quality of food will be always genuine and really high. And it's all about the team around the chef, as chef mentioned. And personally, I always believe that opening a restaurant as a chef will be always related to quality. Because entrepreneurs today, when they open a restaurant and get a chef, yes, they might invest, but they are looking at the cost all the time. But chef, he look at the cost, but always he look at the quality and the genuine recipes.
Fantastic. Before we move on to the third question, I'd like to remind everyone who's here today to please submit your questions either in the chat or the Q&A, preferably in the Q&A, so that we can ask the chefs later. As for the third question, it's for the newcomers, for the new chefs. I wanted to ask you, chefs, since you've achieved so much in the industry and you've come this far, if you have any advice for industry newcomers, whether it be in the UAE or otherwise.
Yeah, so let me continue. So, you know, that question is actually the most difficult one among these three for me, because to become a good chef, of course, you know, it's like having a driving license. It doesn't mean you are a good driver. So there are a lot of chefs, like in every industry. So in the way I have gone, of course, I would recommend it to everybody. So I have gone, you know, through a very hard way. I went, you know, like 15 years only through Michelin's. My dream was to cook to be the first Persian Michelin star chef in the world. So, which luckily somehow I achieved. And then, of course, I went like 10, 12 years only through Michelin star restaurants. Even 2 years, I worked, I remember, in France and in Germany without salary, only food. At that time, we were getting only food, but we were honored, you know, to work in such a establishment, in such a restaurant, to be allowed to be beside a person, you know, like these legends. So, but the time has changed now. I love my team, but you know, the time has changed. Of course, everything, the way of living has changed. I think it's really, you cannot, you know, as you mentioned, would you like to become a TV show host? So these are the next step, you know, this is not for everybody. Bobby is doing a fantastic job in his, you know, because
sure.
It is from inside, it's natural. Things you cannot learn. You have the talent or you don't have. So, and it's all about, you know, dedication. In our job, you have to love. It's not about hours. You have to put dedication in. You have to put your heart in. You have to suffer also. For example, you have to suffer with, not suffering, you know, in German word, it's called Leidenschaft. That means suffering to become, you know, to have your hobby, to have your, you know, beautiful life. So, and we have been, all of us, suffering times. We have lost friends because we have no times more for them. You know, while they are having off, we are working long hours. It's all about dedication and the love this profession. And so otherwise, it doesn't make sense to enter into hospitality for me personally. Not only cooking, the entire hospitality. Yeah.
I think I've seen a lot of people in the industry, and I must say that chefs usually have like the highest levels of passion you'll ever see. Like there's nobody in the world as passionate as a chef.
They have to. Every ingredient you touch, everything you do, every step you know, the interaction you have with guests, this is passion, this is love. Otherwise, it's not a job, it's passion. So that's what the way I see that. Yeah.
I love that. What about other chefs? Your advice for newcomers?
For food, and there is a sentence we always say it when we do food. We say that this food or this dish is made with love. And I heard this word since I started in this career. And I really, in the beginning, I didn't know what does it mean, making food with love. The passion that drive us to do food and the indulgement when we see customer eating and the happiness coming on his face show the result of our hard work. And today I would like to say for the new chef coming to this career, just keep with the genuine, authentic recipes. Even the skills today, nowadays, we have a lot of new trends coming, and there is a lot of new cooking technique coming. We should know it. We have to follow the new trend and learn everything new coming on the industry. But still, I advise them to learn very well from the old gastronomy, the old kitchen. They have to know very well all the ingredients, understand them, understand all the features of the ingredients, because the must you understand the ingredients, the must you know how to deal with it, how to cook it, slow cooking or whatever type of cooking. So please, I advise you to go for the old kitchen as a start, and then after you are strong there, go follow the trend and follow your passion.
Fantastic. Love it. It's funny when the chef keeps repeating the word old. We have young chefs here today, which is amazing also. It shows how much you guys have worked for this, huh? All of you very young and star chefs. The old, but not old. Probably you've had a different experience doing Top Chef and everything. So what would you tell any chefs out there who would like to do the same?
Well, I can tell you from my own personal experience, because it worked well for me. I left Wall Street. I was paid very well, and I just didn't like pushing pieces of paper around. And I was, my family doctor said, why don't you sell seafood for a living? I said, what, be a fishmonger? I got a BA in finance and economics. And I thought about it, and I sold Prince Edward Island mussels before anybody had it in New York. And Malbec oysters. I learned the product inside out. And I name dropped and I got to every major chef and I met them and I thought, wow, what a guy. Wears a white jacket, looks like a doctor. My mother wanted me to be a doctor, and I thought that was as close as I was gonna get. They're cooking with passion. Each chef prepared the mussels differently. And I'm like, creativity. That's what's lacking in my life is creativity. And then look at, they're dealing with different people every single day. And you get to use all the business acumen that you have, because you can't do this job and be stupid, okay? You might not be a great cook, but you better learn how to basically do food costing and understand how to do a matrix of a menu and all that stuff. And no one teaches you that stuff. It's osmosis. You can go to culinary school, that's great, but you can learn a lot through osmosis by asking a lot of questions. So what I did is I went and I begged for a job at a restaurant called Fleur de Lis, which is a top French restaurant in San Francisco. And for the first time ever, I said, I'll work for free. Now, I would never offer my services for free, but the most important thing for a young chef is to learn from really good people, from great operations, because you don't develop bad habits. You're gonna learn how to do things correctly. And you'll find along the way that a lot of the ways they do it is for good reason, but you don't know the reasons. You just do it. And when you go to a crap restaurant, you're like, hey, I think you can produce it quicker and more efficiently if you did it like this. You learn as much as you can, every single position. There is no crappy position in a restaurant. You're developing a skill. Everyone wants to be Picasso, but they can't draw the Mona Lisa like Picasso could. He could paint. So as the other chefs have clearly stated, you have to know the basics. You have to know the fundamentals, the classics, to understand the techniques. Read Escoffier, read French Laundry, read the Sauce Bible, read the Third Plate, Dan Barber. I mean, all of the information is all out there, and it's on the internet. And what you do is you accept the mundane. If you think slicing onions for 3 hours is a boring job, this job isn't for you. You do those onions and you say, I need a sharp knife, all right? And you develop your skills and you learn by training and you ask yourself, you know, am I doing it correctly? Can I do it better? Can I do it faster? And you push yourself. And that's what you do. And you grow. And you're really, a chef is a mechanic. Our chefs in front of us are artists, but they had to understand the mechanics before they get to drive the car. And once you understand the mechanics, then your creativity can be expressed either culturally of who you are, from what your culture has contributed to world cuisine. So obviously for you, Chef Mansour, you know, Persia, huge influence on Arabic cuisine and the foods of Europe, all right? So to me, you learn, you travel, and you open your mind and you say, this is a stepping stone. And everything in life is a stepping stone. You might not know why you're doing it, all right? But sooner or later, you'll understand the valuable lesson that it taught you along the way.
That's
Amazing.
Yes. Yeah, and I think from all of us who don't know how to
This is good coffee.
we know. Can we have a sip? We need good coffee here. Yeah, yeah, definitely. We can see the passion that all of you put into your food.
Is it Nescafe?
Probably Nescafe buy the same coffee.
Oh, that's
It's from Vietnam. They buy all the coffee in the world, let's face it.
you know,
Good.
you know the funny. Bobby was mentioning something with onions and cutting. You know, that was when I was working. It was 99, 2000 in Düsseldorf. Yeah, I was Sunni at that time, and I had to cut every day, 1 kg onion because I was doing every day bisque. Yeah, I really every day I wanted to beat my record, to cut and chop the onions. It was matter of seconds. So, but that's the fun also we have at job. It's not only to beat my record to become better, but that was the funny part, between the colleagues, between the team, and between my friends at work there at that time. And this is the way you push yourself up. That's a fantastic point you mentioned. Exactly.
I think what I was trying to say is that, you see, I've never hired anybody because of their prior experience. I've always hired by attitude. And it's that attitude that for you trying to beat your record, all right, is something that you've created inside your own head.
Yeah.
That is the beauty, and that is what I think the chefs are doing, is that you have an attitude, I want to learn. And trust me, nobody comes into this world, like, I know exactly how to make a beurre blanc sauce. Someone had to show you. Someone taught you somewhere along the line, and chefs are good teachers. There's so many skills. You got to be a good teacher. You got to be a good coach. You got to learn how to manage people. And you learn from the best because you're not in that position because of luck. And you're not going to stay there because of luck. You're there because you have the skills and you've proven yourselves and you have feathers in your hat from your experience. So I think it's the attitude that is really critical to do in any job.
100%.
This is a labor of love.
Perfect. Yeah.
100%.
All right, we will move to the questions now. We have the first question from Christian Saloum, and Christian is the founder of Brand Opportunity, which is a massive company. He handles a lot of restaurants, and he is asking about cloud kitchens, basically. And what do you think of cloud kitchens? He thinks it's affecting chefs and affecting quality, affecting presentation. And it's a very popular concept. And in Dubai, we can see so many of these, so many more to come. I know that because I was editing this issue, and I know that there's more to come. So what do you think, chefs, of this new concept?
Can I answer?
Sorry, who, Bobby?
Well, I can. As I said,
Yeah.
like say in San Francisco, the city has offered 25% rent reduction. That's not going to cut it. The profit margins are too small and they don't have cash reserves. So landlords are going to be stuck with empty restaurants, with equipment. So it makes sense, right, to do these cloud kitchens. Dubai in particular, I would assume that Emirates has been hit you know, I don't think you're getting the tourist, right? They're grounded tons of airplanes. So you got to go local. All right, so I think you'd be eating much more local. There's that great farm between Dubai and Abu Dhabi that has that fantastic farm in the middle of the desert, right? I think you'd be eating more local, and I think talented chefs that have now an opportunity to show their culinary skills. And I don't think you're going to be needing tweezers and foams on your food, because that I think is limited to the high-end restaurants like, say, Versace Plaza. Or Plaza de Versace. I stayed there incidentally. I had a really great meal. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, I think that's going to be growing. But at the same token, I also see robotics coming in, automation coming into our industry at the lower end, at the fast food end. But I also think that you're going to have a lot of talented chefs that need to find a way to make a living, that they have a skill. The beautiful thing about cooking is that you can apply it anywhere in the world. And if it's in a ghost kitchen and you have an app or the ability to reach out to your customers saying, I'm cooking this, then that's going to happen.
What about the Dubai chefs, since it's also a very common concept here? What do you think of these new cloud dark kitchens?
You know, I looked at it at that option. So because as I said in the beginning, I started my cooking academy. Yeah, so I was looking at that option. Yeah, it's very good for people, you know. In my case, of course, I prefer to do it in Versace while I'm here, so it's a different case. So, but the opportunity given to a lot of chefs, you know, who do not have, let's say, so the luck to be in such a hotel like I am, or in a beautiful restaurant. So it's amazing, you know, new way of offering. Versus cloud kitchen. It's something nice to have. So, but I personally, I have looked at it, but I don't have the experience. So think about it.
See, we are working with the cloud kitchen closely, and I believe that the cloud kitchen or ghost kitchen, they are a very good opportunity for the entrepreneur, because you are able to invest and have a kitchen or have a restaurant and your brand name without the cost of open a restaurant actually. So you are saving a lot of cost and you are working basically on delivery. So this is the main idea behind it. And regarding the quality, here I have to say that the quality is always related to the brand, because each brand has his own manuals, he has his own profile, recipes, everything, so he cannot compromise on the quality, especially if he is a big brand name. So I believe the chef here are doing very well by applying the same and delivering out of one kitchen a different brand menu. So from one kitchen, they are producing different sandwiches from the same table, but each sandwich has a brand profile different from another. So I believe it's a very smart idea. Yes, it will be spread across everywhere because it's cost saving for the entrepreneur and for the quality. I don't think that is an issue since it is always related to the brand quality.
Fantastic. We have a question from Sharaf Muqdad, who's asking about COVID-19, and whether you think it has pressured restaurants to compromise on usual quality and focus more on cost, which I've seen some of you address already as well. But I mean, has it in Palazzo Versace? I don't think so.
No, to be honest, my motto, or our team's motto with my amazing team, was to push for more quality. Yeah. And we are at the moment a little bit compromising with food costs. It's not a big number. So our food cost is higher, beverage cost is higher, but we are pushing even with more quality to attract people in once as a guest. You know, it's the difficult part parties to get you into the hotel. But once you know that, once you are in a hotel, you know it by yourself. So you spend, you know, especially in Versace, in such a beautiful hotel, it's not only about having a coffee or having a dinner. Then you add some more dishes into it, and it's done with the team is, you know, the case of upselling products to the guests, you know, up in a nice way. These are all steps we have done, and we have even increased our quality, but gone a little bit lower with our pricing. So we have done the contrary, actually. What's the question is, and we have been successful, as you see. So thanks God, Versace is really one of the hotels now in Dubai. So being still nicely put in the market. So that was the very smart move we have done, I have to say. And it's all about quality. I would never allow myself to offer about qualities. And, you know, I have grown up, especially in the kitchens in F&B. So since 25 years, I have worked only in the best quality areas. So, and it's in our blood. It's not, you cannot go with quality down. It cannot. I would not feel happy to offer you less quality than I used to do. So it cannot. This is something, it does not go together with my personality and our image as a hotel as well.
Well, it doesn't go with the brand. I mean, like if I go to Versace, I'm not looking to have something from a packet, right? I mean, you can cut costs, but like, no, exactly. I mean, look, at a pair of torn jeans at Versace is like $1,200. So, you know, I go to your restaurant, I'm expecting to have quality. And I did actually, I had the ravioli. I stayed there for a couple of nights. I had the buffet. I checked all the pastry. It was world class, you know? So I think that for someone like you in a hotel, yeah, absolutely. I'm international, and I've been living internationally for, I don't know, most of my life. And as a result of that, I'm asking people across the board, what's it like? Now, say in New Zealand, there's no more menu. They've taken the menu out of the equation. Because generally, the menu is the dirtiest part of any restaurant. They say it's dirtier than the bathrooms, okay? Because everyone touches it. We don't disinfect it. So what they've done is they put a QR code, and you now removed. You have to book in advance. They know who you are. They got your IP address now. You go to the QR code. You hit it. You order your food. You have one waitress. That's it. The experience is changed. That's how they're going to have solutions to COVID. I think that this is only the first wave. I mean, we're talking about reopening. I think everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid because, with all due respect, I'm scared that this is going to get out of control, because what the pandemic has shown is that there is no international cooperation with respect to how we're going to deal with it. Every country gets to deal with it how they want. But the problem is that every country is being dictated by the tail that wags the dog, which is they're measuring their success on a gross domestic product, which is forcing people to open. So, as I said, it's a catch-22. This is just the beginning. It's only 6 months. We still don't know enough about this virus to really be making the types of decisions that are being made. Did you know in Egypt, as an example, this is shocking, they banned shisha. So we rightfully would say, okay, yeah, ban shishas, right? Because, you know, smoking and lips and, you know, virus, not a good plan. Well, they brought it back because shisha smoking, tax-wise revenues, is 500 million pounds a month.
Of course.
They stopped that for 3 months. The government's got no money, you know. So I really, the restaurant is a microcosm of the big world, but we're more special than the rest of it. We're in the hospitality. We're dealing with all of you. When you want to say, I love you, I'll take you to Versace and say, you know, honey, I love you. Here's an engagement ring, right? The dining experience is beyond just eating. The experience, I don't want to go to Versace and see everybody with face masks, to tell you the truth. I'm in the hospitality, not a hospital, right? So unless you can change the mindset of your customers, which I don't know how you're going to do that when you're watching the news, but, you know, these are really interesting times, and we're going to find solutions. Some of them are going to work, some of them are not, and one size does not fit all. We're all going to have to deal with it differently, I guess.
That, Chef Bob, yeah, you are very correct, and I think it's presenting a massive challenge for everybody in the industry. When we go out for dinner, yesterday we were trying to understand what the waitress was saying because she was wearing this huge mask covering her face, and we just couldn't communicate with her, and it defeats the purpose sometimes, but I think they just have to do it, I guess, because this is how it is now. So
yes, unfortunately, yeah, at the moment, yeah. And the matter with QR code, what Bobby mentioned, so we are having also the QR code, but I was against it, to have the integration of the QR code directly with the micros. I forced, I was always for that, to have still our waiter interacting with the guests, of course, with the distance there. So that's hospitality. It's not only about ordering the food and the food arriving. So we have to give, we are on a theater scene. So we have to give them experience. We have to let them go back to their houses with a smile in their face. So, and that's exactly what we stand for. So, and at the moment, of course, we are a little bit limited here and there, but we are finding our ways. We are finding our ways through how to go back slowly the way it was. But it takes time. It will take time. It will take time.
I think, Chef, you are talking about the QR code and the hospitality, and you want your waiter or waitress to talk and interact with the customer and engage with the customer. And this is how we know. I always talk about the old school. This is how we learn the hospitality. We have to go to the customer. We have to understand what he wants, what he loves. We have to suggest, not only telling what we have. We have to suggest. We have to align with the chef inside the kitchen about what he wants to move in the menu. So the waiter is not a person that he will say, what do you want? He write it on his book and go back to the kitchen. No, he have to understand what is there, what is going on in the kitchen, and go and know how to sell. So the QR code will not do this, definitely. And I believe that it's like a time gap, because we are going from a stage to another, and there is always a gap in this stages. So I believe later on, definitely we will have to. Of course, we are looking to go advanced, but we always look for hospitality to be there in a way or another.
But I agree with you, but I think we're going to have those adjustments. As an example, in America, where most restaurants are, say, running off micros or Squirrel, okay, the point of sale system. They have my employee ID. As a waiter, I have to pay 8.5% of my gross sales, because as a waiter, I'm dependent on my service charge. Now, all of a sudden, you're paying 15%, right? Now, if I go to a restaurant and I order a $150 bottle of wine, and I pay 15% for the person to twist the top off, I'm paying 15%. There's no skill. So all of a sudden, we're starting to rewrite those rules. Why should I pay 15% of the magic of putting the pork in, twisting it in, and not making it pop and smelling it, and that whole experience is gone? Why should I pay 15% for that? So we're changing, and I think that we as the industry are going to make the adjustments, because without the guest, we're nothing. And they don't need another restaurant, right? We just need guests. So whatever we do, we're going to need to adjust to what they want and what they're willing to accept. And right now, they want restaurants, but they're not really sure. I don't want a social distance. I mean, who wants to go to an empty restaurant, right? Now I'm saying, I want an empty restaurant because I don't want anyone near me. You know, it's changing, and we don't know. We're just at the beginning. We're at the tip of the iceberg right now.
Yes.
I agree that we're in this phase where we don't really know what's going to happen, and it's some sort of like Chef Mohammed said, it's like a gap right now between, you know, whether you want to be in a restaurant that's full of people or just alone sitting there and having your food. And this is another question. And yeah, I went to a cafe recently and they had implemented this QR code menu thing, and it's a completely different experience, I must say. It's definitely not the same, because the waitress will be standing like how many feet away from you and just asking you to scan the QR code and then basically yell your dish from there or something. it's something to adjust to. That's for sure. Lara Louise is asking whether we will be able to gather enough client data and customize dishes as per their preferences, perhaps as an alternative to having to interact so much with customers, maybe over time knowing what people want, or maybe asking them beforehand and then serving them the dishes. I see Chef Mansour is so shocked.
That's a challenge we have having since years, hundreds of years in hospitality to get the, we are always looking to get the preferences of the guests, but at the end we are in the industry of people, so, and everybody they have the base of preference, but to collect it and to know that it's impossible. I see it as impossible. It's all about how to interact, how their mood is. I know myself when I go to I have an Italian restaurant I love to go always to. I have, of course, my base, what I love, but every time, depending on my mood, it changes what I drink, what I eat. So I said with every customer. So and this is the beauty of our profession, that we can offer everything the customer is feeling to have. So at that moment, and we would kill the hospitality a little bit in that case.
We're going to kill hospitality a little bit.
That never.
Yeah.
I think we're going to kill hospitality a little bit. And
Yeah.
I was researching on I like to read a lot of stuff because, as I say, I'm ADD and I just want to learn. And McDonald's, Burger King, fast food companies aren't hiring to train new chefs. They're hiring for automation. And they know that the robot only costs $35,000, about 30% more than what you'd have to pay a worker to assemble, to do certain dishes. They have barrels that circulate for different dishes. You dump the food in and it keeps it and tosses it, and there's no cook. All right. Now, companies that are looking at that are spending money, a lot of money on the research, they're buying engineers, all right, are also going to create the apps. We all love the apps because we love our phones. And that phone has your GPS, and they're going to mine information. They know who you are. They're using artificial intelligence, all right? And when you walk by a certain restaurant, boom, we got a sale for you. They found initially they've reduced food costs, they've increased sales, and they've upsold. So, it seems like the IT guy is taking over. We in hospitality have a passion, but the machine has an objective, and the businessman has an objective. And there's a balance between the creativity and the artistic integrity and passion versus the bottom line. And a lot of those companies are very bottom line.
100% true. 100% true.
Oh, well, just throwing it out there.
Totally true.
Yeah, we're all in the same boat, I guess.
Yeah.
We have a question on food waste, which is a massive issue also primarily in the UAE, and I'm sure it is in the United States as well, Bob, if you can tell us. So what's your best advice to control food waste?
Well, there's policies, and that usually comes from the top. When I went to Vietnam, I noticed that they were recycling all by themselves. And I was with a gentleman by the name of Michael DeGregorio, who is at the Ford Foundation. And he says, how much you sell your garbage for? I said, sell it? I got to pay the guy. He says, no, you got it all wrong. They buy the garbage. Your wet garbage is used as pig feed. So they taught me that. And I think all chefs, for food costs, as an example, when I worked at Fleur de Lis, the chef told me, when you make all these desserts, right? He had a whole tray of beautiful desserts that I made. He took his fist and he smashed each one of them on the sheet pan and he dumped it in the garbage can. Why did you do that? He says, well, because the chef won't get his hands dirty. He'll look into the garbage can. It's too messy. He's not getting his hands dirty. I said, okay, I want to emulate that chef. So what I would do just before service, I'd take the garbage can, I'd dump it upside down, and I'd kick through the stuff. And I'd say, okay, why is my herbs in there, right? And then look at the person responsible for herbs. And we could use that for marinade. That scrap could be used for stock. It's management. and your profits are in the garbage can. So you got to learn how to manage your ingredients and utilize the ingredients. And this is where all chefs talk about respecting the ingredient. So in a restaurant, a good restaurant has no waste because it's managed correctly. They know how to utilize it. In hotels, as an example, they're like, okay, what do we do with that? We got a buffet over there, convert into this. That was Anthony Bourdain's book, basically, of what the Sunday buffet was, is utilizing ingredients so it doesn't go to waste. That's about management. But in the United States, what is it? We lose a third of our food production. It's tragic. You know, I think that maybe in Dubai, those food companies can create a organization and work with Slow Foods or other types of NGOs to utilize those ingredients to maybe feed the migrant workers who are suffering because they're isolated and they didn't get their unemployment check, as an example. But I'm just a cook.
A very outspoken one, we have to say. What
Yeah,
I
but
always wonder when we talk about the food waste, how a chef have a food waste in his kitchen, because food waste, that mean you are throwing food or you are losing your food because you didn't do your forecast well. Maybe because if you are making, for example, a food for display like sandwiches or whatever, and then the shelf life is over and you have to waste it, this is a type of food waste. Like in the hotel, we have cafeteria, we have a lot of outlet where we put display food. So food waste in a production is totally different from food waste from displaying it in a buffet or in an outlet in a hotel. In a production, I don't believe that there is a real food waste, especially when we are talking about chef. Chef doesn't waste food. Chef, he utilizes even the small cut remaining from any raw material he's using to utilize it in a different application. So the topic of food waste is really huge, but I think that chef doesn't waste food. And when I say chef, it's chef.
yeah, I think really the same for me. You know, as I said, I grew up only in restaurants, and for example, in Düsseldorf, it was a 3 Michelin star restaurant. The chef was the owner, so you can imagine there was not a single piece of food waste because it was his money also, and that's the way you learn also skills. It's all about the skills, the attitude your team has. You know, the way you transform also your attitude to your team. And for me, we have a big operation here. We have no food waste except the items which are exposed on the buffet, of course. This one we can, but we do not throw them. What have I done? So, and we cannot do, and it's a wet garbage. So I have contacted in Fujairah. It's a shelter for abandoned dogs and cats, and we deliver it to them every second day. We deliver it to them, or they come to pick it up. So otherwise, food waste in a restaurant, it's for me, it does not exist. It cannot be. It cannot be. Impossible. It's impossible. Something because you have learned. You are a chef. You have, you know. I have a responsibility. I'm now speaking crazy. Responsibility towards my product. I have a pride. The product I work with, so I should be proud of. It's you know, it's a beauty. It could be onion, but I feel in that moment responsible for that product when I work with it. So it does not for me. So and for our team. So we do not have it. So thanks God. That's the reason we can go up then with the quality or a little bit more because we don't have the food waste. So we can focus.
As advisory chef, I have the chance to go into kitchens in hotel and restaurant everywhere. Every day I go to kitchens. So I meet a lot of chefs. I meet a lot of operations people. And believe me, I have never noticed through my career as an advisory chef, I never noticed in a kitchen someone who's wasting food. You know, there is nothing called wastage. But see, I believe that wastage become a word related to food when people, the consumer, waste his food. When he buy a big sandwich and he threw 50% of it because he cannot eat it fully. But in the operation, it's very hard to waste food. And I agree totally with you.
But there are chefs, they go shortcuts. You know, like Bobby said, they throw, you know, the ending of the herbs into the garbage, but you can do stocks, you can do a lot of things, or even the tomato skin, so you can do a lot. So these are shortcuts and being a little bit lazy. So, but that's, again, the attitude of the team comes
Exactly,
in, and
the attitude.
you teach to your team, or your team has. That's important.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
I'd like to interject that you guys are at the top of the industry. You guys are leaders. You guys are the ones that are running one of the highest end hotels in the world, and you're working for one of the major food companies of the world. And so people are listening to experts. Now, as I said, there's a lot of restaurants that go under. The majority go under, and they don't know how to manage. Restaurants are a small fraction of food waste. It's the distribution of food, which is also being wasted because it doesn't look pretty from the supermarkets. So, you know, it's a colossal problem. And I think that what COVID has done, it's pulled off the veneer of many industries. Our healthcare system isn't as good as we thought it was. You know, our food distribution isn't as good as we thought it was. Our food fabrication is vulnerable. Say, for example, 30% of small farms in the United States are going to face bankruptcy because those restaurants have been closed for 3 months, right? There's going to be a lot of food waste there. We now have to re-examine our system and think more locally, cook for the clients more locally, because you're not going to get that international travel like we used to. You're not going to get the corporate expense that you used to have to go eat out as much, because everyone has been hit. There is no one that's getting out of this unscathed. So it's a major problem. And I think that it's really great that you're having this conversation, because it's food for thought, excuse the pun. But, you know, we have a lot of questions and a lot of changes that need to be made. And chefs are just one of the cogs in the wheel that's turning this thing around. So, yeah, that's my 10 cents right there.
I must say, I'm very happy cats and dogs are having palazzo food. This is definitely very, very Dubai. Fantastic food. This is amazing.
I would just add one thing about wastage. Despite the protein in the kitchen, chicken, meat, and fish, everything could be dehydrated. Any remaining thing would be dehydrated and grinded as a powder and used in anything else. There is zero wastage in the kitchen. This is what I believe in.
In Palazzo Versace, chips. Out of everything, we do chips. Dehydrate and we do chips.
Yes,
so.
Dehydrate and grind. Chef, you can grind it and use the powder to flavor anything else. It's amazing.
But of course, wastage is here and there, some items, but we try really, really to avoid it. Really.
Fantastic. And the final question to close this fantastic webinar, because it's also a very important one, is recreating the chef experience at home. You have a lot of restaurants now offering delivery, and they call it the chef at home, and they send you everything in a box, and then you are the chef, obviously, and then you sit there and cook everything. And I personally find it very strange. I cannot imagine what it feels like for you guys to put things in there and know what, you know, that some random person is going to be cooking them. So what do you think of these experiences? And do you think it makes sense to just send over the ingredients and have someone who doesn't have any sort of experience put them together?
Well, okay. Go right ahead, Mansour.
No, yeah, you, because it's like at school, so you put your finger.
Okay. Like, say, for example, there's, you know, these guys got the equipment. They got dehydrators, they got vacuum packing, they can sous vide, they can do all this incredible stuff. And those dishes can be really made simple at home. So, for example, if Mansour sent me his truffled raviolis, okay, that were frozen and then vacuum packed, and he told me, open the pack, dump them in boiling salted water, and when they float on the top, give it a couple of minutes. Here's a truffle sauce, dump that in a pan, stir, you know, heat it up, and then throw the raviolis in. It'll be good, right? That's totally doable. And I think, you know, braised lamb shanks and foods like that give guests the opportunity to cook incredible food. So I'm not. Yeah, I think that people are cooking much more. I heard that when Dubai opened up, people went to Costco. You couldn't buy cocoa powder. You couldn't buy flour. Everybody wants to be a baker now. So I think that with television shows, cookery shows, people cooked less and watched the show. That's totally changed. Now they're cooking. And I think that if you sent me over those raviolis that I ate in your restaurant, okay, I wouldn't be on a Versace plate, but those are absolutely delicious. I'd be more than happy to take those frozen raviolis and dump them into a pan of truffles. I think it's totally doable. And I think that maybe when people start cooking a little bit more, they'll start having a little bit more respect and appreciation for the restaurants they took for granted.
And that's the beauty of our industry, our profession. So even professional chefs, give to 5 chefs one recipe. You will have 5 different tastes, dishes, out of this recipe. So, and that's the beauty. And of course, you have to always consider what you send home to your guests. But we are, it's all about the touch we have. So everybody has a different taste. Everybody has a different sense. So, and that's the beauty of our industry. So, and I like the idea. It's a nice idea. A lot of people, especially in Dubai, it's happening. And we do it also, but we do it, of course, we go with one chef there and we sanitize like a Versace style and come to their houses and we come back. So we do that as well. But the beauty, it's a beautiful, it's a beautiful profession. And at home, why not? So I love it. I really love it, I have to say.
See, Chef, in this pandemic, ladies that used to work outside, she has to sit at home, quarantined at home with her family, and she has to cook for her family, and she never cooked before, and this is why this idea, I believe, has been developed here, especially in Dubai, and it was like booming and everybody is taking it. So the kitchen has to send the box with all the ingredients, with a recipe and instruction how to make it. So the housewife, she has to receive the box, open it, see the recipe, see the ingredients, and follow it. First of all, she will enjoy doing it at home. She will have a professional result because she is following the instructions, and she will learn how to cook. And I believe that after the pandemic, this lady will go back to the kitchen a little bit. So I believe it's a nice idea, really. I believe that it is a nice idea, but after the pandemic, I don't know how stable it will be. But definitely, if people would like to replicate cooking at home from the restaurant, the same dish in the restaurant, it will be also amazing, and this will remain forever.
I have a food for thought, an idea. Is that there's this great farm that I visited in between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. The guy's name is Yasser, and it's an oasis. In the middle of this oasis, he's got this ridiculous farm, and he's growing a lot of product. Chefs like you can maybe give him a recipe, all right? And guests can have their items picked to order, So you have cooperation, and when it's picked, we're losing 45% of the nutritional value of food as it sits with each passing day. Like within 4 days, it's lost 45% of its nutritional value. So eating local and having chefs that can utilize these ingredients, I think is kind of like maybe the silver lining in a dark cloud. I think that there's a lot of good stuff that's coming out of it. We're all getting more creative. We're all thinking about ways to support each other and to feed the people that might not be able to visit our restaurants anymore.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that the chefs are positive about this, and our participants, some of them agree and some disagree, and they think that we will never be chefs. And I definitely think that this is what's special about a chef, right? I would never ever be able to replicate something that a chef does. But you guys are obviously very humble, so thank you for believing in us.
You don't need to be a chef to cook a beautiful dish. No, you don't need to be a chef.
Exactly.
So of course, you have to have a little bit of skills, but to love what you don't need to be a chef. And during this pandemic, I did a lot of on my Instagram, cooking, and of course I was at home, and you can imagine who has to cook at home once at home. So, and I did a lot of this in Instagram, IGTVs and stories. Now Yunella is sitting here on my side, so I was so surprised how many views, a simple dish what I do has, for example. So it's not about me, my Instagram, but people are interested in that, and that means they have the passion, and they need only a little bit confidence. And cooking, you have to have confidence. Never be scared to cook or to season or to create something new. So you have to develop, and you cannot know how many things we do wrong in the kitchen till we start to develop a dish. A plate does not come from one day. So it's a lot of things have gone wrong till we started or we have implemented a new dish. So everybody has to know that. So we are also struggling sometimes with food.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, chefs, so much for joining us today. We will be announcing the winner of the grand prize at Palazzo Versace over social media. So I hope everyone follows us for that. Big thank you to the chefs for joining us. This webinar is presented by Do in association with Nestle Professional Minna. And chefs, I really hope to see you again for another session because this was loads of fun. And we will let you get back to your busy kitchens now. We'll see you next time.